Most people treat their lives like a dimmer switch. They're always adjusting, always planning, always prepping. But life doesn't respond to slow adjustments. It responds only to full commitments. So you're either serious about changing your life or you're not. And you think that you are working on it. You think that you're busy with it. But in fact, the only thing that you're doing is rehearsing it. You're a little bit motivated, a little bit organized, and a little bit disciplined, but you're not all in. You don't fully commit. And this was also the same for me. Deep down, I knew that I hadn't flipped the switch. Deep down, I knew that I didn't fully commit. And the reason for it is very simple, because once you flip it, you cannot unflip it. So once you make a commitment, you cannot go back, because you cannot lie to yourself any longer. And you don't dim your way into the life you want. You decide that you want to do it, and then you do it, and then everything changes. And you either build the life that you want, or you are only rehearsing it forever. And most people look very serious about their lives. They've got routines, they've got systems, structures, but in fact it's all only controlled hesitation. They're tweaking, tuning, prepping, but they're not actually building something. They're only delaying it. And in many cases you're not really busy, but you're just distracting yourself. And these people, they are waiting to finally feel ready, waiting to stop being scared, waiting to be sure about something. But life doesn't reward preparation. It only rewards real movement, real action. And this is basically the same like you're sitting in your car with the engine on, but you never put it in drive. And you feel the rumble, you hear the noise of your engine, but you're still parked. You're still in the same place you were. And eventually you mistake that noise for motion. When you sit long enough in your car, you think that you're moving, but in fact it's only the noise of the engine. And this is also what I used to do. I filled my days with all sorts of action, but I was basically only avoiding the one thing that I really needed to do, the one thing that actually mattered, and that was to go all in on something, fully commit to something. And again, this is because once you flip that switch, you cannot unflip it. So once you make that commitment, there is no going back. And that's simply where I was afraid of. And also that's why I think that most people aren't really failing. They aren't doing things incorrectly, but they're just refusing to start. They're just refuse to make that commitment. And what taking your life seriously actually means, it's not about working harder or about doing more. It's also not about having the perfect system. It's about finally deciding that your time and that your potential and that your pain are no longer a game. And that means that you stop negotiating with yourself, or let's say hopefully an older version of yourself. You stop tweaking the settings and you just start living like there's no way back, like there's no reset button. And then you stop managing your energy, but you start directing it to someone, and you stop chasing motivation, and you just start building your own identity. And you also stop with endlessly preparing for the thing, but you just become the person who actually starts the thing, or who actually does the thing. And you reframe your mindset from I need to do more to I need to make a decision, which is something that's very important. And also you just start doing the things that you said you do even when you don't feel like it. Because we all think and we all say that we are disciplined, but when it actually comes to it, are you really the person that does what he has to do even though he doesn't feel like it? And you also no longer explain yourself to people who don't get you, people who don't understand you. And you don't chase inspiration, but you act, and you let clarity only come afterwards, come secondly. And you're not trying to be louder, but you're trying to be more clear and to gain an actual direction. And then when you flip that switch, then let's say the room lights up or your life lights up, and you can finally see the mess that you've been avoiding all along. And you also can see the things that are actually worth building. And at first this is very uncomfortable, and maybe afterwards it's also not, it's also a little bit uncomfortable, but it's also something that's very real. And that's where I believe that everything changes. And the difference between potential and progress is making a decision and having the guts to stand by it. So what happens if you don't flip the switch? Then you'll only stay in motion, but you never move forward. You get older, but you don't evolve. You keep talking about making a change, but you never even fully experience it. And at some point then you will look back and you will realize that you've just been parked the whole time in the same situation. And you try to avoid pressure today, but eventually you trade it for regret, which is always the case. and you try to impress people with how disciplined you are. But when it's really quiet and there's no one around, you will feel in your stomach that you were capable of more and that you knew it, because you cannot lie to yourself. And nothing eats a man like wasted potential he pretend that he didn't have. But again, you cannot lie to yourself. So you will know for yourself the things that you are capable of. And the longer you delay it, the heavier it gets and your confidence erodes, and that's when your clarity will fade. And you stop trusting yourself, because every time that you make a promise, you break it. So you cannot trust yourself anymore. And that self-betrayal, that is real damage. And if you keep the lights dimmed long enough, then you will start to forget what the room or your life really looks like, or what your life could have looked like. And that's not only sad, that's even dangerous in my opinion, because you don't just lose only your time by staying dimmed, but eventually you will also lose yourself. And it's never really about being ready. You don't flip the switch because you're ready. You flip it when you're tired of waiting, when you're tired of lying to yourself, when you're tired of only talking about it instead of being about it, instead of doing something about it. So how do you start with this? First of all, you need to take one clear decision. You pick the thing that you've been trying, but what you're only half doing. And then you fully commit. There's no plan B, there's no negotiating with yourself. You just take full ownership, you commit, and you make sure that it's done. You also do one honest act. So you do the thing that you've been avoiding for a very long time. Maybe you need send someone a message. Maybe you need to cut out an excuse. Or maybe you just need to speak the truth for once. Maybe there's something that you really need to say, but somehow you didn't say it up until this point. Then also there needs to be one non-negotiable standard. So somewhere you draw the line and you don't break that promise to yourself anymore. No exceptions, even when it's inconvenient. So let's say, for example, you say to yourself, this week I will go to the gym 3 times. And even when it's Sunday and you haven't been to the gym that week, that'll simply mean that you have to go 3 times on Sunday, because it is a non-negotiable standard. You have to commit, you have to do it for yourself. And then what happens after? You won't feel fireworks right away, and you probably still will feel the same fear. But over time, something changes quietly, and with every step you take, with every action you take, you just trust yourself a little more, and you will walk differently. And at some point, life will start to take you serious and will respond to your seriousness. And that's because the world doesn't give you clarity at first. This is also something I was always looking for. The way the world works is it gives you feedback only after you move. And if you know someone else who is still dimmed and hasn't fully flipped that switch, or if you know someone who is ready to flip that switch but somehow is still afraid, then send them this video. Or better yet, send this video to yourself in 6 months from now. And then make sure that the person is listening then is finally the one who fully flipped the switch and who fully committed to something. And that is my perspective. That's how I look at it. Let us know about yours. Share them in the comments or send me a message. And for now, thank you very much for your time.